Hello and welcome to this special broadcast. I am Arun Sharma. Well, India and Fiji enjoys a strong bilateral relationship. And to talk on that, I am joined by a very special guest. I am joined by the High Commissioner of Fiji to India, Mr. Yogesh Punja. Sir, thank you for joining us on Doordarshan.
Namaste.
Namaste. First of all, how do you look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, as far as cementing India-Fiji bilateral ties, sir?
Well, to the listeners, they may not be aware of this particular terminology called FIPIC, which is a India and the Pacific Islands regional bilateral trade involvement. So FIPIC was held about 3 years ago. It was held in Fiji. The next FIPIC is actually been just announced by your Foreign Affairs, and it's going to be happening in Papua New Guinea in the middle of next year sometime. So that engagement has given not only Fiji but the entire Pacific a one-on-one with India. And part of that particular first round of meetings that we have had centers for IT, assistance for the small developing SMEs on grants. So a lot of this has been coming through. So we are extremely happy with your Prime Minister. We respect his decision-making processes. And I appreciate his strategic thinking. I think he has been looking at the Pacific for a very important reason. I did mention earlier that Fiji is 9 lakhs of people, and almost 43% of them are of Indian origin. So there is a very strong cultural and people-to-people tie that we already have. So because of that, I believe that I think our engagement is very fundamental for both our relationships. And our bilaterals are thriving. We're still in the process of building some new stuff, and maybe one with Prasar Bharati itself is also being brewed at this moment. So with your Prime Minister, congratulations on his new election, and the fact that he's taking the world head on. So I'm really, really happy with his work.
Well, since you mentioned about people-to-people contact, now as far as India's national broadcaster Doordarshan is concerned, and Fiji's media is concerned, the national broadcaster over there, how can they collaborate and going forward so that people-to-people connect can get a major push?
Yeah, well, last year we got from your Prasar Bharati a 1 terabyte of old songs, plays, news, whatever was old, antique, and that already sent to Fiji. So we already have a bilateral MOU between ourselves, but we are at this moment looking at expanding. The expansion is going to be within the TV sector, the social media sector, and because of the 43% population that speaks Hindi, you may not be aware, or the listeners may not be aware, that after India, Fiji is the only other country in the world where Hindi is one of the official languages. So we have 3 languages: Hindi, Itoke, which is indigenous Fijian language, and English. So our constitution is in Hindi, and the 3 languages, our news is in the 3 languages. So our culturally and religiously, food, clothing, everything is very much linked with India. So we have that people-to-people thing, and like I said, we visit a lot to India. A lot of people come here for both business purposes, religious tours. We have a massive number of people that come for health checks. So like this, our relationship is building.
Since you also mentioned about the health checks, that means the healthcare sector. Now India has recently, started a mega mission, that's Ayushman Bharat, whereby India is providing, health insurance to the below poverty line. So how can India help Fiji as far as the healthcare sector is concerned going forward from here?
Well, there's one more thing that you may not be aware of, that under the ITEC program that is being rolled out by the government, there is going to be remote healthcare advice and assistance available. And that's something new. It's a brand new package and program. I don't think it has been rolled out yet, but I believe that will help, because we are far away. We are 15 hours flight from here. We're in Australia. Those of you who are not aware of it, we are 4 hours from Australia and 3.5 hours from New Zealand. So our distance, is far, but yet our hearts are very close to each other. And in the process, India has been the world leader in high-end medical facility treatment and interventions. We have been working on getting possible doctors from India to come and assist us in Fiji. For information, there is a heart clinic that happens in Fiji under an NGO, where doctors from India actually come and perform some of these procedures for us. Like this, we all have health needs, and for us, developing our infrastructure is necessary. So right now, there is a move to try and bring in tertiary healthcare facility into Fiji. And if I'm not mistaken, a couple of Indian corporations are looking at maybe having some PPP in Fiji soon. But already the area of collaboration in the area of pharma, we're looking at actually talking with companies here to set up a pharma industry. And I know those who are listening are maybe thinking, 9 lakhs, pharma industry doesn't work. But we are a region. We are a Pacific region. So between the Pacific itself, we'll have easily 10 million people to service. And India is the master at the generics. And I think we can easily learn from what India is doing and replicate that for the Pacific per se.
Also, how can India help as far as developmental needs are concerned, specifically public infrastructure in Fiji?
For any country to grow, obviously infrastructure is the fundamentals. And India is already working with Fiji. There are companies like Webcos that provides consultancy services to Fiji in the areas of our road construction, waterways. And this is only the start. So we have only just started engaging. But the private sector is what will make a difference. Because I believe that Indian government per se, even if you look at how the Chinese models are, it's not the Chinese government, but it's the statutory bodies that they have. It's like you have a PWD. They have China Railway, which is the party that goes and builds the wharves and roads and all of that sort of thing. So all the countries need this thing. But already India is assisting us with lines of credit through Exim Bank for us to develop the infrastructure. Now, obviously, the LOC that we get from Exim Bank is linked with the condition is that there has to be an Indian organization or a company that will actually deliver that service. So we are taking some investors across very soon, some large investors to actually consider the needs. We already have a massive needs requirement. We need to explore renewable energy sector. So that's one area that is really growing. We are looking at more roads. The connectivity is necessary. Obviously, the port development is a big thing. We are currently looking at some major projects in moving an existing container port into making it into a passenger terminal and making a new naval port. And it's just a massive wish list of project. But it all has to do with ROIs. If you put in an infrastructure, how can you pay back? You need to have the volumes to go through to ensure that the infrastructure can actually justify the investment. So those are the challenges we have. And I think we are going through a phase where we are at the moment prioritizing what needs to come first, meaning putting all the ducks in a row, which one comes first and second. So we have a massive list of infrastructure. In actual fact, your Prime Minister announced recently LOC of 150 million USD. So that itself, it talks about the fact that they are very keen to engage with the Pacific, but India is engaging with the entire world,
You also mentioned about some of the challenges, but there is a major challenge in front of the Pacific nations, specifically the climate change part. Now recently, in his first tenure, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has started an initiative called International Solar Alliance. Do you think that's a befitting reply to combating the climate change from here now?
It is one of the mixes. The subject has to be renewable energy. Solar is one of the very important mix. In actual fact, if anything, the most important mix. Fiji is a member of ISA, and we are working very closely with now looking at solar pumps, water pumps, because if you have remote places where there's no electricity going, You need to be able to, the remote areas are the farm areas, you know, growing agricultural sector. So to irrigate, to increase your productivity, we need this solar pumps. So we have at the moment are working with ISA to develop this one. But coming back to the subject of climate change per se, the needs of the Pacific is very big. The Pacific will be known as the canary in the cave, meaning that once the water levels go up, the Pacific will be the first countries in the world that will face this challenge. We have countries like Kiribati and all, you know, which will probably disappear in a 50 to 100 years time. They will not be there. That's serious. I've seen Kiribati. I've been to Kiribati, and if you have a high moon tide, they call it a high tide. Yes. The water can travel from one side of the island to the other side. So it's that serious. So the interventions, you know, sometimes when you are sick, you have to go to a doctor, and the doctor will tell you, okay, these are the symptoms, this is your remedy. For us, when I'm sick, when we have this climate, you know, crisis, we sometimes do not know the answers. So we need to go to the doctor. The doctor is the international community that can say, look, let's put walls around here, let's increase the height of the base, let's move the people away from the shorelines into the higher areas. You know, there is a word called climate refugee. It is not recognized by UN. They don't know this word. It is not recognized per se. But I believe that very soon you will hear this word being repeated time and again, because we already have people that are moving away from the islands for safekeeping into high area, you know, for growing food. Because what is happening is as the high water levels come up, your fresh water gets salinated, you know, your drinking water, your sewer system. So the entire ecosystem falls apart. So you need to find yourself safer areas to move to. So we have those challenges, and Fiji is one of those countries that is big enough, but also very willing to help its neighbors. So Kiribati, the island itself, has bought about 5,000 acres of land in Fiji. They call it for food security, but we understand, you know, it's the worry that tomorrow, what will you do with your people when you have to move? I think it's the world's concern. I don't think we have got all the solutions, but climate change is going to turn the world upside down. It'll make every leader think differently. And your Prime Minister's initiative with ISA is a huge, huge assistance to countries that are what you call energy deficient, to fill in this gap. Because solar is portable. You know, you don't, for us we have islands, we have 300 islands, not 333 islands. So for us, we can't have grids running to all these islands. It's too expensive. So for us to have the portability of a solar makes a big difference. Yes, there's other options of wind and other things, but solar is an easy one. You can put it on the top of a roof. You can have, tomorrow you can start working with energy, power, all of that sort of thing. So congratulations, and India and France have both initiated this at the COP23, and we are eternally grateful for this initiative that India has taken.
One more thing. Now let's move from climate change to RuPay card primarily, because today RuPay card will be launched in Maldives as well, and in many countries RuPay card is being launched, be it Singapore and other countries. Now RuPay card is gaining momentum globally. It's globally accepted now. So how is Fiji looking at the RuPay card as of now? Because a lot of people over there speak in Hindi, a lot of people of Indian origin living over there. So how is the, how Fiji is looking at the RuPay card as of now?
The entire world is becoming digital, and I think banks are offering options. I think we in Fiji, for information, already have a bank from India that's been there for, I would think, close to 50 years. It's called Bank of Baroda.
Yes.
So if it's an Indian product that you want to launch, because the Bank of Baroda is very popular within the farming community in Fiji, very, very large, because they speak the language, and like you said, familiarity matters. And if I know somebody, I'll go to his particular. So the banks are like that. I believe that digital wallets are a big thing. Fiji already has a few of this. For example, we pay our bus fares, bus cards. It's preloaded, and you just swipe and you can keep using. It will grow. the cash economy is going to disappear. Just deposit money in your accounts, like how you have your Aadhaar card here, which is
Yes.
one ID card. It's ID card, but it also helps you do all your financial transactions, your government transactions, anything you want to do, you can use that thing. So I believe there is a demand for a product like that, but the credit card companies are playing this game in a big way. So unless and until you have the infrastructure to support it, maybe the bank can back it. So I'm sure this will be something that will definitely take off, because it's about the deal.
So it's a big news for us, because we can expect that Fiji will also launch the RuPay card.
Yeah.
But yeah, last but not the least, sir, Prime Minister talks about Sabka Saath, Sabka Vishwas and Sabka Vikas. You said that Fiji and India are distantly located, but then they are connected via hearts. So how do you look at Prime Minister Narendra Modi's this vision, this mission of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas, not only in India, but as far as on a global platform as well, because we have seen that Prime Minister Narendra Modi engaging with the Pacific nation island countries as well. So how do you look at this idea of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas on the global platform now as well?
You have a visionary leader in Prime Minister Modi. He is one person that has been grounded, and he understands what it means to come out from that level to a 5 trillion economy that he's trying to pursue. I always believe that that leaders need to have grounding, and grounding, be it religious, be it ethical, be it value-based, whatever it is. This slogan is an ethical, value-centric. It comes out of our religious books. It means let's take everybody together. Progress has to be uniform. Yes, the world is a place where it's difficult because, other day I was talking to somebody about USA. You would think the USA is the richest country in the world, but it has the largest number of, homeless. And many of these homeless people have different reasons for being where they are. But a lot of them get government funding. This is nanny state. Government gives you money, but they abuse it. Drugs and alcohol, all that sort of thing. So no matter how hard you try, you'll find a certain group that will always be lagging. But the programs that your government has rolled out here in India, I can talk about the global level, but here in India, all fundamentals. Toilets, gas, Aadhaar card, this universal healthcare. The universal healthcare is a challenge for you. I'm aware that you need another, million nurses, another 500,000 doctors, new education, training institute for these doctors. You need hospitals to reach that point. But the intent is right. The intent, universal healthcare is a big deal. US tried to roll that out with insurance policies and all that, but leaving them aside, what India is doing the fundamentals correctly. And I believe that, the faith, the vishwas, togetherness, all of this are fundamentals. And I think I also know quite often, your local politics are things that keep dragging people backwards, putting the wrong things in the mind. I remember the other day there was an interview I was watching, and somebody was saying, you have this slogan called Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, Beti Bachao. But he was relating to a rape case. It's a completely different intent. I've got a Panadol for your headache, not a pill for your cancer. You know what I'm saying? It's a different thing. But yet people construe things wrongly. But overall, people understand the intent of a person. And I think your people are very educated. The people are very knowledgeable. Indians are very, very, very smart people. If you can survive driving here in India, you can survive driving anywhere in the world. But the fact is that your people are wanting to progress. And almost more than half your population is young. They're educated. They're very educated to understand these things. Yes, while the politics keeps playing itself, and regional politics, ethnic politics, all this keeps keeping India, you're taking 5 steps up and then 3 steps back because of somebody saying something at this moment. So I believe that you are on the right track. I believe you are very fortunate to have a leader like Prime Minister Modi who's thinking it. People have opinions, but from where I'm sitting, I'm about making sure the country grows. So the majority are growing. The majority is happening. Yes, the small voices in the corner will keep yelling. I don't think the average person should sway away from this. Should focus on, because what things I learned about India was in the 1.5 years here is now that you love cricket and you love politics. So you love to hear everybody talking. You ever switch on a radio station, there's interviews and there's 6 guys talking at the same time. Don't know who's saying what, but end of the day, the politics is what's pulling India down in many good ways. In many good terms. So I think my idea would be that let the average person decide that, look, I am progressing. Yes, the progress is slow. To have a big ship to turn is very hard.
Yes.
And you are 1.3 billion people. It's very hard to get everybody on board. And I admire your Prime Minister's enthusiasm and energy and finesse to speak to people. You have a program on one-on-one. He speaks Man Ki Baat. I've heard 1 or 2 of his speeches. That's a way to reach with people. And I think your guys, Prasar Bharati, is doing a fantastic job of reaching out to all the ethnicities and 200 channels, and you guys deserve a major pat on your back.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Doordarshan News. Well, we also expect that the relation between India and Fiji will also reach new heights. Thank you, sir. Well, so that's it in this special broadcast. Thank you for joining us. Namaskar.